Thanks for joining us on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Rena Sargentopoulos. Let's get right to your headlines. Developing this afternoon, one person is in custody after firing several shots inside a South Minneapolis home with juveniles inside. It happened just before 11 at a home near 31st and 4th Avenue South. Police say a person in crisis got a hold of a legally owned AR-15 style rifle in the home and was firing in the basement at what they thought was a person that had broken into the home. That person with the gun ended up surrendering to police peacefully, was taken to the hospital in custody. Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara says there were two 30-round magazines with armor-piercing bullets inside.
It could have been bad. It appears the weapon was armed with armor-piercing rounds, which two 30-round magazines and an AR-15 armed with them is certainly something that we don't want any of our officers or anyone from the community to face. So I'm just very thankful for the professional and quick response from our officers, and thankful that we were able to safely put an end to this very quickly.
Incredibly, no one was hurt in this situation. Investigators are still trying to figure out how the man firing the shots got a hold of the gun in the first place. We will be following this story all day long on KARE 11 Plus and KARE 11 News at 4, 5, and 6. Just in this afternoon, prosecutors seeking a federal indictment against Luigi Mangione for the killing of United Healthcare CEO will get more time. A federal judge has extended the deadline from March 19th until April 18th. Prosecutors and attorneys for Luigi Mangione jointly requested a 30-day extension, quote, given the nature of the prosecution and the complexity of the case. The order says it is to allow the parties adequate time to prepare for pretrial proceedings and the eventual trial. Luigi Mangione is being held in federal custody on charges of allegedly gunning down Brian Thompson outside a Midtown Manhattan hotel last December. The 26-year-old is eligible for the death penalty if he is convicted of murder through use of a firearm. New today, President Trump speaking to Russian President Vladimir Putin on the phone, the two discussing the ongoing war in Ukraine and what needs to happen to stop it. NBC's Keir Simmons has the latest from Ukraine and the soldiers on the front lines who are affected by these talks.
Trump striking a confident tone yesterday.
We're going to see if we can work a peace agreement, a ceasefire and peace, and I think we'll be able to do it.
Putin says he supports the idea of a ceasefire, but his conditions have included guarantees Ukraine will disarm and not join an alliance, which would leave Ukraine vulnerable, Kyiv says. And the White House is talking one-on-one with Russia about Ukrainian territory and assets. Zelensky last night accusing Putin of prolonging the war to gain more concessions. Saying for a week now, Putin has been unable to muster a simple yes. Just this week in Kursk, Russia has seized back land. And this morning, for the first time, NBC News reached scarred Russian territory once held by Ukraine. Thousands died on both sides, Ukraine losing a valuable bargaining chip. This remains of an American Humvee is as far as the Ukrainians got. For 7 months, they held hundreds of miles of territory in that direction. It was all for nothing. Vladimir, who didn't want us to use his last name, is a Russian military volunteer. Ukrainians have destroyed Russian villages. Russians have destroyed many Ukrainian villages. Do you think there should be a ceasefire now? Every war is terrible, he says. We don't need this. The US doesn't need it. Ukraine doesn't need it.
Right now, destruction lining the Gaza Strip after Israel resumed airstrikes. Hundreds of people are dead, and Palestinian officials say the death toll will likely keep rising as they continue to search for victims. Israel says it only broke a very fragile ceasefire agreement because the Hamas terrorist group refuses to release remaining hostages and that it consulted with the U.S. before that attack. NBC's Matt Bradley reports from Tel Aviv.
That's right. War has returned to the Gaza Strip, breaking a tenuous ceasefire that the U.S. had spent more than a year trying to negotiate. The Israelis started striking Hamas military targets, they said, across that enclave starting at around 2 a.m. this morning. Now, health authorities in the Gaza Strip said that already more than 400 people have been killed, and those numbers are likely to rise. Now, Israel's defense minister said they decided to return to fighting because Hamas refused to negotiate the release of the remaining hostages in the Gaza Strip. Hamas said that Israel's airstrikes are a violation of the ceasefire that almost quieted the guns in Gaza when it was negotiated back in January. And the White House said last night the Israelis had consulted them before they resumed their airstrikes. But all of this calls into question the fate of the remaining hostages in the Gaza Strip. The Israelis believe that there are about 59 hostages who are still in Gaza, but only about 35 of them, or already 35 of them, have been killed. Matt Bradley, NBC News, Tel Aviv.
New today, the National Transportation Safety Board has released a report on the fatal mid-air collision between two small planes in Arizona. The incident happened at Marana Regional Airport near Tucson on February 19th. According to the NTSB, a Cessna was flown by a student pilot with a flight instructor on board. That student was practicing landings and takeoffs, while the other plane was a personal flight preparing to land. The report says the collision happened when the plane tried to go around the Cessna and then hit it. The student pilot and the flight instructor were not injured and did land safely. However, the pilot and passenger on the other plane were killed. That final report could take more than a year to complete. Tonight, the family of Sudiksha Kanaki, the college student who had vanished in the Dominican Republic, are asking officials to declare her dead. She was last seen on March 6th while on spring break. The ask comes as a judge decides if a St. Cloud State student being questioned in her disappearance can come back home. Police say Joshua Uribe was the last person to see the University of Pittsburgh student before she vanished 2 weeks ago in Punta Cana. NBC News reports the 22-year-old St. Cloud State senior told investigators that he and Kanaki were swept up by a wave on March 6th. According to transcripts, he said he was able to get her to shore. He then started vomiting, and when he looked up, he did not see anyone around. Happening today, Governor Walz visiting Eau Claire, Wisconsin as part of a national town hall style tour of battleground districts. The Democrat trying to put the pressure on Republicans who are not holding town halls or in-person meetings themselves. He visited red districts in Iowa and Nebraska last week. He says he plans to visit more red districts in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Ohio as well on this tour. The fate of the massive Feeding Our Future fraud scheme could be in the hands of a jury by the end of today. The main co-defendant in this trial, Salim Syed, back on the stand to wrap up cross-examination. That plus closing arguments are expected to take up most of the court time today. It'll be up to the jury to decide Syed's fate as well as that of Amy Bach, the former executive director of Feeding Our Future. Syed told the court yesterday he never paid a bribe and never knowingly participated in fraud. His Minneapolis restaurant got more federal money from Feeding Our Future than any other meal site. Happening right now, astronauts Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams headed back to Earth. They've been on the International Space Station for months, spending longer than expected in space. The two hitching a ride aboard SpaceX Dragon capsule, which is coming from the International Space Station back to Earth. Tom Costello has been on this story from the beginning, and he has the latest now.
All hooks are open. And undocking confirmed.
This is the moment astronauts Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams and the world have been waiting for.
Suni Williams and Butch Wilmore begin their belated trip home.
After 286 days in space, Suni and Butch bid farewell before departing from the International Space Station with fellow Crew 9 team members, astronaut Nick Hague and cosmonaut Alexander Gorbanov. Their SpaceX Dragon capsule undocking just after 1 a.m. Eastern.
Crew 9's going home.
NASA SpaceX Crew 9 now en route for splashdown in the Gulf along the coast of Florida, 5:57 p.m. Eastern Time. I spoke with former NASA astronaut Mike Massimino. When you come back through the Earth's atmosphere and you splash down, what is the physical effect, the physical toll on the astronaut's body?
First thing you notice, Tom, is the onset of gravity. You feel very heavy, even picking up a pen or moving around because you've been floating so much. You sure feel that when you're coming back.
Butch and Suni's extended stay has been a first in space exploration. Never before has a 10-day test flight turned into a 9-month-plus mission.
We came up prepared to stay long, even though we planned to stay short. That's what we do in human spaceflight.
Only 5 NASA astronauts have ever spent more consecutive days in orbit than these two.
Obviously, we're excited to get Crew 9 back, and I know Butch and Suni are excited to come back. And then we'll celebrate, when they're ready.
As for the pair, the hardest part, they say, has been the impact on their families back on Earth.
We left our families a little while ago.
My daughter's, I'm going to miss most of her senior year in high school, my youngest daughter. And my oldest daughter is a sophomore at East Texas Baptist University.
A special homecoming now just hours away.
Stick with us. More news and weather coming up after the break.